TLT, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the YouTube channel Darth Craig. Its continuing mission to explore strange new PvP teams, to seek out new meta and new hero synergies, to carelessly go where no one has gone before. Good afternoon, my Dungeon Boss brethren. It is Thursday. It is the Team Lab Thursday. Today is sort of a special edition. This video goes out to all of my Justice League brethren. I wanted to take a minute to go over Open League PvP. I've often said in chats, in game and such, that Open League PvP is probably the easiest to progress in because of the particular team we use when we use Rayla team. There's a lot of auto win scenarios. It's also the fastest, in my opinion. When we do Silver League can be incredibly slow, and if you don't have 6 stars and maxed out heroes, it's incredibly tough to make up that gap if you don't start there. So I'm struggling in Silver just because I don't have a wide variety. So if there's a different team that I'm attacking in Silver, I'm basically stuck with this same team over and over. So I've been using um, this team as of recently. Um, Echo, Nubs, William, and Ella. If there's a particular team that doesn't fare well against them, I'm kind of screwed, and sometimes it takes really long to win. Sometimes it's just a flat out loss. And you can see from my roster here that I really don't have a lot of level 80s. That's part of my problem here. Um, so without level 80s, what do you do in Silver? Well, you lose. You play through the lower levels, and then you get up to champion, and that's about it. Getting past champion 1 in both Silver and Gold League has been a real struggle for anybody that doesn't have maxed out heroes. The nice thing about Open League, though, is you should be spamming this light team nonstop throughout your entire progression through the game. So it should be pretty smooth sailing. You should have maxed out light heroes, especially Rayla, Jin, and Echo. Whoever your fourth is for the light team is debatable, but in my case, I'm using Zen as well. So look right now, I'm currently sitting at 35 for the streak. If we look at my season so far, um, 35 and 0. I've only played this year. I'm up to Champion 2. Champion 2 is about when we're going to start getting some teams that are no goes. Now, one of the things about open PvP, you have to know when to attack and when to not attack. That is the most critical aspect of this because the Rayla team that we use is not a guaranteed auto win. Rayla will lose to another Rayla team, especially if there is Echo in there. So Rayla, Echo, Dagon, and Jin will wipe you every single time. You have to know when you can soak that and when you cannot. That takes a little bit of practice. I kind of have a ballpark figure of when I know to attack and when not to attack. But there's a lot of teams that our team can actually beat, which ultimately the reason that this progresses so nicely is you're able to run the far right a lot. Like this team here has 100% guaranteed chance of success. There's no way that this team here can survive against a Rayla team. It's just not possible. Um, so there's only a couple of teams that I really steer clear of. Like in this case here in the middle, this one is running Rayla, Dagon, Jin, and um, Grandar. I generally steer clear of Grandar teams too because you kill him, he bubble shields and heals someone else. It makes for a very tricky rounds like 5 and 6, if you will, and it's not always a guaranteed victory. The low level stars on Rayla doesn't matter, so that's a sort of a misdirect. But 5 star Dagon, 5 star Jin, at 78 and 80, they're going to do some massive damage, and a 79 Grandar, even at 4 stars, is going to be pretty formidable too. So I generally wouldn't risk a streak on this one. I might do a immediate opener after a streak after this to see how it fares so I can log some mental data, but I wouldn't risk my streak on this one here knowing what would happen when I kill Grandar. So But let's go out to this one here. Part of the reason I wanted to do this video is to go over my mechanics in terms of how you actually run this team and how you actually win with this team. So I'll take it a little bit slower and go through the rotation that I use, which is pretty much universal. I use that every single time, regardless who I'm attacking. The only exception being who to attack, which actual hero you're attacking first. I'll talk about that in a little bit. Usually it's threat based, but sometimes it's something else. The only other time that my rotation does not hold is if you run into a situation where you are not able to run the rotation. So if for some reason, um, for whatever reason, Koros goes first and saps your energy, that's always a problem. If you're going to run into a Gretel team, and I generally steer clear of Gretel as well. If Gretel does polymorph on Rayla, you better bring your A game because that can be a tricky one as well. So my goal here is to run through a couple of raids here, show you when I would attack and when I would not attack. As I said, this particular team here is zero threat whatsoever. Now, I know most people when they use light team, wherever you use it, you want to spam um, your hail of arrows and watch everybody do their fireworks right from the start. You go bam, then Echo supercharges. Zen's gonna put a shield on someone. Jin is gonna do his superpower attack, or you might have Dagon in there hitting everybody, and you may very well wipe a lot of teams like that. But that's not the safest way, in my opinion. I go safety first because I want to preserve the streak. So my go-to opener is always, always, always ambush tactics, without question. Because doing that, Rayla's protected, everybody else is protected for a good couple of turns. It lets me work my rotation and deal with minimal fuss here. So in this case here, it doesn't really matter who we attack first because AoE is ultimately going to take care of Koros, and you can't kill Lily, and you're not going to kill um, Gortusk very quickly, and Kelpie we're not really concerned with. So I'll just run it on Gortusk just to try and purge the taunting as soon as we can. So we do that ambush tactics. Everybody does their basic attack. Good to go there. So round one usually comes in. There we go. We do not use Echo's supercharge on turn one. We do not. So Echo's first turn is always just a basic attack. Usually you'd go for someone that is elemental disadvantage if you're going against a dark team, or you'd go for whatever target you're trying to actually kill. I don't want to waste this attack on Koro, so she's going to dodge it. So I'll try and kill Kelpie since she's basically dead anyways. Zen on turn one is also just a basic attack. Zen is in this group to save this here. We do not use Safe Haven until we need to. So this is a perfect example of we use Safe Haven in an instance where Rayla's immunity breaks. So if we run out of turns before we kill who we want to kill, ultimately Rayla is there to get saved by Zen. That's his only purpose. That and he does heal each round, which is great when you're soaking damage from another light team. So another basic attack, take that on Kelpie. First turn for Jin is always silence. They started silenced. We silence them again. That gives you two full turns basically of them not able to use abilities. Um, Obviously, it didn't hit with Gortus, but that's okay. Turn two for Rayla is always Hail of Arrows. Why Hail of Arrows on turn two? Take a look at what we got for opponents. Koros, shocked. Gortusk, shocked. And Kelpie, shocked. This here is going to give us +3 energy. Combine that with Echo on the same turn. Now, ambush tactic is going to be back up. So even when that runs out, we can grab that again. We have a nice, safe, guaranteed win, basically. Now, there are obviously heroes that are immune to shocking. That's not that unheard of. And like I said, this team was not going to cause problems anyways. But we'll get into a tougher team in a bit here. Again, Echo's second turn is to recharge. This does two things. One, it boosts the crit, and two, gives the energy. But at this point now, again, Zen is just basic attacks. But at this point now, Jin is fully charged. He's got his full 8 stacks. He's going to do his absolute most damage. It is rare that I will opt to use his Chain Lightning here. it's rare. I don't need to do it. Usually at this point here, the damage gets pumped up so much that you're killing the main threats and you're just dealing with cleanup. If you're ever in a bind where you need to worry about what sort of buffs they have, sure, go ahead and whip out Chain Lightning. But in most cases, you're already sitting with Rayla being fully protected and guaranteed to be protected in the next turns as well. Now, here's where things start to deviate a little bit because at this point, it's not always guaranteed that people are going to be dead. You have to look at what the buffs and debuffs are on the opponents. In most cases, I want to make sure that things keep going smoothly. In the event of healers, usually I'm using Motivating Command to stun the healers and get an extra follow up from Jin. Um, I don't usually use ambush tactics again until mine runs out. Same with Hail of Arrows. Hail of Arrows has done its thing now. There's no point in doing that anymore. So it's really all about that stun now. And that's when you have to start thinking about who you're actually attacking. In a lot of cases, that ends up being Agnon because you don't want him doing Terror Storm, if you will. You don't want him lingering around and getting his whatever his third ability is called as well. And then at this point here, Echo can use whatever skills you want. You can go back to Electricity, or you can use the again the stun to get follow-ups from Jin is usually the best option. Okay, so that was an example of what most of the low-level PvP ends up being. You just walk through far right. You just go one after another. Just watch them drop. In this case here, 36 in a row. Now we're up to Champion 1. We tend to see some teams that we don't want to fight here. So far right, Champion 1. This team here is not one that I'm going to go after. Even though it's Masuda, keep in mind we're in a light event right now. Masuda is going to do extra damage. But main takeaway here, level 80 Rayla, level 80 Jin, also 6 stars, and 86 star on Masuda. We will not survive the first round. It's guaranteed we won't. Even if we do, only be one hero. The hard and fast rule for this is you have to have Rayla survive the first turn. Generally speaking, you'd like everybody to survive, but if Rayla survives, you at least have a chance. If Rayla does not survive, you almost have no chance at high-end PvP. Let's look at this other one on the far left before we get there too. Same basic thing where we're looking at almost max level. They're all 5-star. This team here will likely end me on the first turn as well. My cutoff generally for going against a light team like this is usually about 72 or 73. With the light event going on right now, I would be hesitant to even attack at level 70 because of the extra damage that they're going to do from the light event. Um, but usually about 72 or 73 is what I can soak, depending on the team involved. If Echo starts the team, absolutely run it. Go ahead and hit it because you'll be doing your ambush tactics before their Rayla goes. If for some reason they have a different team in there where it is somebody that's not going to do a follow-up attack from Rayla, you might do Rayla and you might have Jin in there and you might have two others. That's a guarantee as well. In this case here, Rayla, Dagon, and Jin, that probably won't kill you, but then Grandar will. So if the fourth is somebody else, you might consider that as well. Be wary of attacking teams with Augustus. Augustus is kind of a sleeper. He can wipe you pretty bad if you're not careful. So now we're wondering, does this middle one have anything for us to work with? So this one here should be doable because their fourth person, like I mentioned, is not a light hero. So we're going to get dinged by Rayla, Jin, and Grandar. They're not level 80, and they're also not 6 stars. So being that I'm only getting hit with 3 lights, I should be able to soak this. If not, that'll give you some insight in terms of where you got to draw that line. Grandar's not super powerful, so if that would have been Dagon, I probably would still skip this one. But this will give you some good insight in terms of when to attack and when to not attack. So as long as everybody survives on turn 1, you're essentially good to go. And then at this point here, the only thing that really disrupts your mojo when you're running against teams like this is if you're unable to kill Rayla fast enough. If their Rayla gets ambush tactics herself, it really prolongs the fight and makes things tough. So you can see if there would have been another light hero on this team, it's likely that Zen would have died, and depending who it was, Rayla probably would have died as well. So now look at the health that we got here. It might look a little bit bleak that everyone's going to get killed, but we do ambush tactics. We focus every single thing we got on Rayla. That is our prime directive, is to kill Rayla, and we just hope for those basic attacks to follow up. But then you see Zen healing, we get those basic heals in there. Um, Grandar will do a taunt. That is to be expected. But when we run our rotation properly, Jin's going to come in with a high-powered attack himself. And because we're silencing now, Rayla's not going to be able to do her next thing. And we get only just a modest boost in energy. So when you go run light teams, this um, bringing back the energy is not as successful. It just isn't, because a lot of times they're immune to charged or shocked. At this point here, Rayla's basically dead. She's not going to make it. We're going to stick with our rotation and not deviate. I like to try and not kill Grandar in these fights anyways, because I don't want him to give a shield, especially to Rayla. At this point here, it's great if I can take care of Jin, and then the combination of Grandar Lily is not going to be a problem long term. So again, I'm not trying to kill, so that's why I'm doing Lightning Storm instead. Try and not kill Grandar. And then I'll let all of the damage come from Jin when I get there. So I'm going to do my again, at this point, this is where we kind of deviate a little bit. We do the stun on Jin so that he doesn't do a silence on us. Basically, we keep him stunned. And also, I didn't want to put damage on Grandar anyways. But now we can go ahead and put out some extra damage on everybody. There's the silence that I was talking about. Kill Lily, kill Grandar, and Grandar's healed. But we're good to go on this one here. Even if he kills Rayla at this point here, it doesn't matter. So that's maybe one of the tougher ones. I probably usually wouldn't see Lily as the fourth there, but that is certainly viable. She's a great hero. It's just that's not the team that I would put her on, to be honest. All right. Middle team again looks like just because there's Yasmin in there, it's a guaranteed hit. So what I wanted to tell you before in terms of knowing when to attack and when to not attack, in order to preserve this streak, you have to be willing to walk away from open PvP. That's why it takes me all week to get to Legend 1, is because when I run across these and I get the 82 10s across the board, I'm not going to attack any of those. I'm not going to risk any of them and lose my entire streak when I know if I wait a couple hours, I'm going to get the 120 back and I'm going to be able to come in and do my thing. So that's when I usually switch to gold PvP. I'd run gold until I can't run gold anymore, and then switch to silver and finish up the day on silver. This one here, though, should be a guaranteed win. There's literally no chance this one will survive. It's guaranteed win, and that's the whole point of open PvP, is to take guaranteed wins. And now, I do see you got to take this with a grain of salt. This methodology really only works once you've hit level 80, because if you're, say, level 75, you could be going up against level 80s, and then you're running against a stack deck. It's just not quite as, I guess, fair, if you will. It's just not going to be easy for you to succeed, knowing that the other teams can have a much higher level than you. And so it's a lot easier once you get to level 80. So that's when I suggest really focusing on the open PvP. Um, so I'm going a little bit faster on this one because I want to see if I can get a Niveus Construct team as the next one. I haven't seen them for a couple of ranks yet, so I think people are starting to phase them out, but they are still there. All right, so we'll finish this off. Again, this was like I said, no chance that this one was going to win. All right, so there's a Wrath team. So Niveus is in there as a shade. That's Cobalt. We got a lot of stars on our side, but guess what they don't have on their side? They do not have speed on their side. So what do? I come in and I do ambush tactics right from the start and say, thank you very much, may I have another? So as powerful as that team might look, not threatening in the slightest. Not even close. So the only thing that's going to stop a Rayla team like this is another Rayla team or somebody that's faster or that can disrupt your flow, such as Gretel, making you so you can't use Rayla. Now the actual target order here, I don't know that there really is a preference. None of these guys are going to be overly threatening to me. To be fair, and why I wanted to do Niveus Construct is Niveus is always going to get a silence off. That's not usually a deal breaker for this, anyways, because we start with ambush tactics. So we're just going to focus on Wrath first, just for the sake of argument. Um, with 3 dark heroes on there, we're likely to get some shocked values there, and even that Niveus is he just got actually spanked, like it wasn't even close. So I'm going to leave Niveus so he can do his silence. I want you to see that just one round of silence is not the end of the world for this particular team. So here's the silence. This happens almost universally with the construct teams. And now we're stuck like, wait, how do I silence them now? Well, the thing is, it doesn't really matter if you silence them or not because they're still all focused on Rayla. So it really just takes one extra turn for your rotation to hit, and that's okay. We're still going to run it the same way. It's just we're going to do basic attacks. You might be tempted to do your charge with Echo. That's okay. Echo doesn't get the debuffs, so no big deal. But I like to save it anyways, just so I get the appropriate number of turns of the critical bonus. All the shocking is gone at this point. I mean, it doesn't matter if I use hail of arrows or not. It's a very modest damage. I just like to hit everybody. Charge everybody up, and then Jin's going to be coming up with his attack. We will be losing our immunity very quickly, but that's okay as well. Again, now at this point here, do we want to, this is where you have to kind of determine, because you skipped that round of silence, do you want to do the round of silence now? Usually at this stage, I would focus on just doing the killing and go back to silence the next turn, because that will coincide with Rayla's buff ending, which you can see it just did. It's very critical now at this point here to assess your threats, and generally speaking, that's going to be how do we make sure Rayla doesn't die before it's her turn or before she can be healed. The ice monster, no big deal. Niveus, not a big deal, which means make sure that Dagon does not do resounding pounding against her. And at this point here, no big deal. We just start cleaning up and we're good to go. We put a little heal on everybody and a little shield just for the sake of argument, and then Niveus kills himself. And just like that, we get a not a tough win, but a little bit longer win. All right, hoping that the far right opens up, which it did not. 7406, we didn't want to do that. This one here is it's going to be the same as the other one, so no big deal there. We won't do another one at this point here just because it's going to not end well. And we're not going to be able to soak this one, so we're not going to do this one either. That pretty much leads us to the end of this video then. So sorry I didn't get a Niveus Construct team. I would have liked to show you that. Basically with Niveus Construct team, you focus on Bobble for the first turn. Then when Agnon comes up, you throw everything you got at Agnon. And that's about it. Niveus just kind of does his thing. You get silence. He kills himself later on. No big deal. But hopefully that gives you a little bit of confidence for running level 80 open PvP and get you up to Legend 1. And it is tough when you get to Legend 2 and 3. You will get a lot of these teams out here. There is a lot of waiting. So it does take a while to those last few days to get those last 500-600 trophies. But with a little patience, you can do it. Like I said, you got 3 leagues to go through. You run into a wall like this, switch to gold, and run that for as long as you can. Keep those streaks alive, and you'll be up to legend in no time. Any questions, feel free to hit me up. Otherwise, we'll see you again next time. Take care, everybody. Thank you for watching, and remember, I make YouTube videos for the American working man, because that's what I am, and that's who I care about.